spine. 'Cause to tell you quite frankly, I haven't been so sure. I'm tired of being lonely all the time.
And now, Morning Chat with Ken Hayes on WSYB and WSYB1380AM.com. Talk of the day, conversation with folks around town, and you. Your calls are always welcome at 802-773-9792 or toll free 877-241-5960. And now, here's Ken.
Oh, I was hoping you'd be there. It's Ken Hayes right here for a Thursday, the 26th of September, 2013. Hard to believe it's the last Thursday in the month of September for the year. Man, where is it going? Summer's gone, fall is upon us. The colors are great, but I was hoping it would be a few more weeks. But, well, it just goes faster the older you get. Maybe that's causing me stress. Maybe I should talk to somebody about the stress that I'm feeling because of that and a whole lot more. Maybe I should bring in Bonnie Olson, a certified Martha Beck life coach, to tell me all about stress and how I can combat it and what I can do to get rid of it and all that stuff. Bonnie Olson, welcome to WSYB this morning.
Well, thank you very much, Ken. I'm really happy to be here.
You don't look very stressed out at all, so you must be real good at keeping it under control.
It's a good cover.
Well, we're going to talk about what stress is and why we have it and how to get rid of it, or, well, at least keep it under control. The discomfort, the emotional distress, the physical illness that can be caused by stress, and maybe some simple tools to reduce or eliminate stress and its accompanying symptoms. I guess we should start by saying or asking, this is going to sound dumb, but what is it? I mean, most people would say, oh, I know stress. I mean, you know it when you feel it, but is it psychological? Is it physiological? Is it mental? You're going to say all of the above, right?
That's right. It's all of the above.
What is it, Bonnie?
Well, the kind of stress I think you and I are talking about is basically a physiological response to an event, but more likely it's a response to our thoughts or our thoughts about an event. Something happens in our lives and you immediately have an emotional reaction to it, and that emotional reaction sends throughout your body stress signals through hormones, and that is what the stress response is. And what's funny about it is you can think of it as clean pain and dirty pain. The stress that we're really talking about and what we want to try to alter a bit is the dirty pain. Clean pain is the actual event that happens that we have to, as human beings, react to.
You mean like if I bang my thumb with a hammer when I'm trying to nail something?
That's the clean pain.
That's clean
the dirty
pain
is the part that comes after that when you start saying, oh my gosh, I always hurt myself. If I didn't hurt myself, then, I'd be able to do this or this or this today. It's the stress that accumulates when you start creating thoughts around the event. Does that make sense?
Well, kind of. Let me give you a down-to-earth example. This morning, at an ungodly early hour, I was in here writing up news stories, and we're under deadline, so that's deadline pressure. That's stress to begin with.
It can be,
but it is. Not can be. It is. But that's part of this job, and you learn to work with it and around it, and you get used to it. So that's not uncommon. But then, after typing up half a dozen stories and going back through, make sure they're all edited, they all read properly, they're grammatically correct, on and on, the things that a writer does. Send them to the printer, hit print, hit enter, boom, good, they're gone. Then I clear the slate, I go on and I grab other stuff. I've got weather to do, I've got some other stories to do. I go back to the printer. The printer I sent them to isn't functioning today. We have to send them to a different printer. So my first thought is, how do I send it to the other printer? Well, the answer is obviously if you kept it in the computer, you would just call it back up again and call up the thing that says, no, send it to printer B instead of printer A. But I'd already erased all that stuff because I was on to something else, assuming that it had just gone to the printer. So now I'm sitting there, there's nothing on the printer and there's nothing on the computer. And now I have half as much time as I did before I came in, and I'm up against deadline. Now, my feelings at the moment, at that very moment, were those stress, rage, anger. In other words, when I wanted to throttle someone, was that stress, or was that just a natural reaction to an unforeseen circumstance?
Well, it is a natural reaction.
But is that stress, or is that just a reaction?
It's both. When anything happens in our lives, we are set up to react in some way. If we go into a stress response, what's happening is we go into fight or flight or freeze. And
I never heard the freeze part.
they don't usually talk about the freeze part because it's just too wordy, But you do go into freeze, and you can think of it as children, especially when we were children growing up. We don't have the ability to fight. We don't have the ability to run away often. So we freeze, and small animals will do the same thing, or even bigger animals too. It's a natural response to stress, and it's just our body's way of setting things up so that we can protect ourselves. Those stress hormones we were talking about earlier go throughout our body to alert every single cell in our body that we are under stress. And it's a good thing if you really are in mortal danger. Then you can run off those stress hormones and get rid of them. And that's a very important mechanism that we really needed to have back when we were early man.
Cavemen.
Right. But our life has changed so much. We don't live in mortal danger all of the time, being chased by a saber-toothed tiger.
Well, somebody else could have been in mortal danger had they been in my path this morning.
Right. And that was your response to what your brain perceived as a stressful situation. Your brain doesn't know the difference between mortal danger that actually is happening, a car accident or, a saber-toothed tiger, and what your brain is processing.
So the difference between mortal danger and what some would consider an inconvenience, albeit major
it's all
inconvenience,
the brain
doesn't
responds
differentiate.
The same way.
Gotcha.
And that's where the problem lies. We, in our modern society, we're sitting around a lot. We're not moving our bodies very much. And those stress hormones build up in our bodies, and they can create a tremendous amount of damage on the cellular level to begin with. A lot of diseases that we have in modern society, you can blame it on the stress. Our bodies slow down all kinds of processes when we are in a state of stress.
You slow it down? I thought they sped it up.
And some parts of our body is sped up, some parts of our body is slowed down.
Okay.
You might feel stress in your stomach, but all of your peristalsis activity is slowing down. It really disrupts our digestive system. All of our energy is going to all of the big muscles in our body. Our heart starts to pound, our blood pressure spikes up.
Oh, my blood pressure spiked.
And we are ready just to run away.
Maybe that's what. Should I have run?
Maybe you should have done that.
Maybe you should run out to Merchants Row around the block and come back.
You could have done 10 jumping jacks or something to let off the steam. But right, it's that kind of a thing. But can you see the difference in modern society?
Sure.
We are really not set up to deal with modern stresses.
Yeah, because we don't run and we don't fight, or at least civilized society, we don't fight.
Right.
So we don't do anything with it.
We are set up to be very vulnerable by stress.
And what is this all the adrenal gland stuff that we heard about when we were kids, and that it dumps tons of hormones into our body?
Right. We end up really using up all of that adrenaline stress. And we start producing cortisol also, and you've heard of how we retain fat because of constant cortisol. A lot of chronic diseases, such as diabetes, is, if not exacerbated, it causes these kinds of diseases, heart attacks, creates the cortisol that's left kind of floating around in our bodies, causes inflammation throughout our body. So that creates all kinds of really big medical problems for us.
Man. Now I'm feeling like a mess, Bonnie. Now what am I going to do? I mean, I didn't run it off. I didn't fight it off. And it was nobody's fault per se, although I'm not the kind of guy who looks to ascribe fault anyway. But, I mean, it's dealing with what I will call a stressful situation. And the only alternative is even more sedentary than fighting or flighting. It means you have to sit down and in half the time produce twice the work, which seems counterintuitive to the way our bodies were built, yes?
Right. No, we're meant to be living out, physically active, gathering berries, hunting animals, and but a lot of scientific study is now being done on stress and its effects and how we can counter stress, and that's really helpful for us, and we can talk about that in a little bit too. So I also wanted to mention that chronic fight or flight, when it's held in our body, obviously leads to things like depression as well and other mental health issues. A lot of things like obesity and eating disorders are created because of stress, because we don't know how to manage our stress. And we become full of stress oftentimes because it's been modeled by our family members. We are very subject to what we see when we're growing up. If we have parents who didn't deal very well with stress, then we're probably not going to deal very well with stress ourselves, which we don't have a whole lot of control over, but being mindful and recognizing that we have a choice in how we react really can help us out a lot.
You talk about constant stress, Bonnie Olson, and I think to myself, okay, so using me again as the example, that was a stressful situation, but you work through it, you get the job done, however you get it done, and then you move on, and then as time heals all wounds, and you forget about it and you moved on. But I stopped when you just said constant stress, constant fight or flight syndrome, and the first thing that pops into my head is those wonderful fellas and gals overseas who are in the theater of combat. And I mean, how can you not be constantly on guard, constantly thinking, oh, where's the next shell or mortar or EID coming from?
Yes.
How do you deal with that?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of our service people don't deal very well with it. And I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because of that particular question. But one of the wonderful things that is being used in studying down psychology is an area of psychology that's only about 30 or 40 years old. And it's called positive psychology. And it was developed by Dr. Martin Seligman down in the University of Pennsylvania. And he has been doing studies for years on positive effects, how we can manage our life and keep things balanced just by focusing on 5 areas of our lives. And he has gone and been asked by the government to work with troops to teach them these things so that they can help keep themselves in balance even when they are forced to be in these difficult situations.
Is this what I've heard about the positive self-talk, the thing where you're supposed to talk, in your own head and then actually say it out loud? Is that, or am I confusing that with?
Are you talking about positive affirmations?
I guess that's what I'm talking about.
It could be somewhat like that, but positive affirmations are kind of old school in this sort of realm, believe it or not. And a lot of people think positive affirmations, but if they're not believable, the brain doesn't buy it.
That's what I always thought. No, what I'm getting at is the one where they say, we all talk to ourselves inside our heads all day long. But this is the thought that, or the belief that if you say it out loud, instead of just saying to yourself, oh, I can deal with this, if you say it out loud, somehow that will make it possible to deal with this, whatever this is.
Well, what comes to my mind is what my whole basis, for my coaching background is, and that is the truth. And if we can, instead of spinning stories from an event that we talked about in the beginning of this conversation, instead of spinning off into dirty pain stories, we can start telling ourselves the truth and asking ourselves, is that true? When you have a really scary thought, or you have a constant thing that you perceive as a problem, just having a conversation with yourself in your mind instead of a positive affirmation, really get down to the bottom line and say, is that true? And try to step back from that problem and take a really objective look at it.
And are you saying that therefore maybe the stress is caused by fears that while they may be legitimate, are really baseless, or 9 times out of 10 it could happen, but it probably won't happen?
Oh gosh,
One
yes.
of those situations?
We are so good at catastrophizing.
Some of us better than others.
But what we're hard on ourselves, and what we don't realize is that our brains are set up with a negative bias. And they found that through the studies through positive psychology, we actually have a negative bias where we are always on that alert for the negative. We're preparing all the time for disaster. We're preparing for the negative, and that's just self-protection. And if we can get really honest with ourselves, take a deep breath, or actually take 3, and look at what that problem is that we're looking at and get real with it, it might really help us.
I was thinking to myself when you were just telling me that the truth is really at the heart of the whole thing, because I've always been a guy who said, well, you can sit there and tell yourself that train isn't going to hit you, but if you're stubborn enough to sit on the tracks while the whistle's blowing, fella, that train's going to hit you. You should be under stress. You should be in the fight or flight syndrome, and preferably in the flight syndrome, and move.
Right.
Yeah. It just, to me, it almost seems, well, you can put it either side of the coin. It's logical that the truth would be the ultimate, the kernel from which all calmness might stem, or the other side of the coin is, you're not fooling anybody, least of all yourself, by trying to con yourself into believing something that in your heart isn't true.
Absolutely. We are not dumb.
Yeah, well, okay, great. I love somebody who can distill it pithily.
Well, and like they say, the truth will set you free. And oftentimes, when we confront that thing that we've created this huge story around in our mind, when we can confront it, we find it is not at all as big, horrible of a monster as we have built it up to be in our minds. Facing our fear is probably the number one best thing that we can do for ourselves. But doing it from a calm place and doing it in a way of love.
Huh. I'm going to pick up on that after we deal with some stressful things called commercials. So you stay right there as we continue our chat with Bonnie Olson, certified Martha Beck life coach. We're talking all about stress this morning here on WSYB 924.
It's high school football action on WSYB sister station 94.5 The Drive this weekend. Friday Night Lights. It's Rutland Raider football on 94.5 The Drive as your Raiders take on the Essex Hornets. Full coverage begins at 6:50 live from Alumni Field. Friday Night Lights is being brought to you by J.P. Carrera & Sons, supporting the community for 3 generations. Wazy and Kitty Insurance in the East Ridge Professional Building on Route 4 East. Allen Pools and Spas, Rutland, White River, and Williston. Wilk Paving, trust the local paver. Wilk Paving, Parker's Classic Auto, Chaplin Avenue, Rutland, collision repair like it never happened. The Vermont Orthopedic Clinic, a leader in the treatment of sports-related injuries and illnesses. Visit vermontorthoclinic.org for more info. And by Pasquale's Cheesesteak and Subs, home of the bomb sub. It's Friday Night Lights this Friday night at 6:50 on WSYB sister station 94.5 The Drive.
Looking for a new or used car or truck, but you're afraid your credit is keeping you back? Let the Credit Angel help. Divorce, bankruptcy, even repossessions. Let the Credit Angel try to get you forgiveness. Go to creditangel.com. It's the website to get you out of the bike rack and into valet parking. Banks are starting to lend again, so even if you've been turned down in the past, let the Credit Angel help you get the fresh start you deserve. Go to creditangel.com if you're looking to get out of your old, beaten-down car and into reliable transportation. That's creditangel.com when you need help getting a new or pre-owned car fast. The Credit Angel is standing by. Go to creditangel.com today for help getting into any make or model of pre-owned vehicles, even luxury vehicles. creditangel.com, open 24/7. The Credit Angel never sleeps. DMV number 3010077. That's creditangel.com.
The one, the only, the classic Halloween. Yes, 35 years later, Halloween still sends chills down your spine. And to commemorate that, they're releasing a special Blu-ray package. You don't need me to tell you the story, you already know that. But the cool thing is the director John Carpenter takes this simple situation, orchestrates a superbly mounted symphony of horrors. It's a movie much scarier for its dark spaces, ominous camera movements, than for the explicit bloodletting. The music was actually composed by Carpenter himself, and that sets the tone for the entire movie, which has a lot of references to other horror movies, especially Psycho. But in the end, Halloween stands on its own as an uncannily frightening experience. To heck with all the sequels and remakes, Rob Zombies aside, check out the original in its special 35th anniversary edition on Blu-ray. With the WSYB DVD review, I'm Chris O'Neill.
Here's more Morning Chat with Ken Hayes on WSYB and WSYB1380AM.com.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Ed Kelly, which is why I didn't, and I let you do it. It's 9:28 WSYB Thursday morning, and we are joined this morning by Bonnie Olson, certified Martha Beck life coach. We're talking all about stress. Hey, if you'd like to join the conversation, if you have a question or a comment or perhaps a little story you'd like to share with us or relate, by all means, give us a call locally at 773-9792, 773-WSYB, or toll-free 1-800-877-241-5960, 1-877-241-5960. And I want to get back into the whole stress thing, but I should have asked you up at the top, but I was so eager, Bonnie, to talk about the stress and how to relieve it, short of strangling somebody this morning. What is a certified Martha Beck life coach?
Well, there are so many coaching disciplines, so many people who have their coaching schools, but Martha Beck is somebody that people might know because she's a columnist for Oprah magazine every month.
That's why I know the name.
And she is a very well-known, well-celebrated author of many self-help books, but other books as well. She's PhD in sociology from Harvard. In fact, she did all of her undergraduate work at Harvard as well and taught there. But she's a brilliant human being and a wonderful humanitarian. She really understands all of this. She's gone through her own issues in life, and like she teaches us as her coaches, is whatever your personal hell is, that's what you're probably meant to coach. So stress is what got me here, and I've learned so much, and it's helped me so much in my personal life and that of my family, that I really want to share with other people too. The information, as we talked about during the break, is so important for all of us to have, because we really need to know how to manage ourselves better. We are fed well in this country, and we have everything set up to live long, healthy lives, but for that niggling stress,
But it isn't really niggling. In fact, there was a story this morning that came across the wire. It was up in St. Albans, someplace way up north, so we didn't cover it here locally, but I'm sure it'll be on the TV news, probably already was this morning, Bonnie, that another case of road rage, and apparently somebody, if I get the story right, some guy jumped a red light, and there was almost an accident, but there wasn't, and the person who was almost hit followed the driver who almost caused the accident by driving through the red light. And I guess a short time down the road, the lady who was doing the following was confronted. They both stopped, and the guy who jumped the red light stopped. So the lady following him stopped behind. He jumped out and I guess started some kind of an argument with her, but either immediately or very shortly thereafter shot her through the head. So,
oh my word! No,
yeah,
I didn't
know.
know that.
I mean,
wow.
I mean, we've all got stress, but I guess I tease, and I shouldn't, when I say I'm going to strangle somebody. It's just an expression. It's I would never actually do it, and we've all been mad enough to punch a hole in the wall, but that's why we have walls, so we can punch holes in them. It isn't so that we can go out and strangle our neighbor. I think we have a phone call. Hi, you're on the air.
Good morning, Ken. Good morning, Bonnie.
Good morning.
Hi, Bonnie. I've called this show before, and, Ken's a very nice person, very calm person. But you know what? I'm feeling stressed right now because it's a little bit nervous. So just what should I be doing right now?
Well, you can start out by taking 3 deep breaths, belly breaths.
What are those?
Well, where you start from the bottom of your breath.
Breathe from the diaphragm.
That's exactly right. Breathe deeply and let it all out. Everybody else.
I'm doing it right now.
Good. Everybody else listening can do this too. And if you can do 3 of those in succession.
I just did.
Well, no, you did it
couldn't.
way quick.
That's way too fast. Bill, how did you do that?
That had to be shallow breathing.
Yeah, it had to be.
So I did it wrong?
Well, you probably just didn't do it as deeply as would be helpful for you.
Do you want me to do another one?
Yeah.
Why not?
Really blow it all out.
So, and hold it.
No, don't hold it.
Okay.
Just nice fluid breaths all the way in. And you'll know if you're doing it, quote unquote, right, but your belly will actually look a little bigger when you are breathing deeply. Yeah. Because you end up using the muscles in your back as well.
I do feel better.
Okay.
I feel much calmer.
Good. Because you know what that does for us? And actually, people in yoga would tell you do 9 series of that with normal breathing in between, because you don't want to pass out from hyperventilating till your body gets used to doing that deep breathing. If you can do that, we actually shut off the stress response, which is tremendous. Yes, it actually, the part of our brain, the hippocampus actually produces the stress response, but also there's a part of that same area in the brain that can have the opposite effect if we can go into this breathing. Breathing is the connection between the mind and the body. So it's very, very important. That's elemental. That's the first step, is the breathing.
So, like, in the future, like right before I call the program or I'm waiting for Ken to pick up, just do this.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ken, but I'm not a professional like you.
Who said I'm professional?
You sure sound like one. You sound as relaxed. But right now, Ken, you know what? It worked. I just feel like Bonnie.
It does work. Sure.
I feel like Bonnie's just chatting on the phone at her office.
Well, and that's really what this whole show is. Well, you know, Bill, you've been a listener probably from day one. I always tell the guests before they come on, especially those who've never done it before, well, just think of it as like being in somebody's living room or having a little chat, except our living room's a little funny looking with microphones hanging from stuff. But other than that, it's just the same stuff.
Well, I feel better. So, Bonnie, now I can ask what I really wanted to ask you. What's the difference between life coach and psychotherapy?
Psychotherapy will often go back into your history, and you probably will ruminate in therapy, going over and over and over. They call it talk therapy. And it's very helpful for people, especially people who have gone through trauma, to really talk through a lot of their history. But with life coaches, I generally deal with people who are psychologically healthy, and oftentimes I will work with somebody in conjunction with a therapist. And that's really helpful to have both people working with somebody that's going through a time in their lives where they need the extra help. We as coaches working with healthy people, think of us like like a physical therapist, except for the mind. That's really what we do. We help you to strengthen your own abilities to live the life you want to live. We probably give you one shot at going into your history, and then we're moving on. We start with today. We start with being in the present, not focusing so much in the past, we may help you to plan your future, but really we're talking about where you are today. Does that help?
Yeah, kind of therapy is you deal with the past and try to unravel it. Mm-hmm. But you, on the other hand, would talk about only my present and kind of how to deal with today.
Right. There's a part of what I am trained to do as a life coach, and that's thought work. And most people have not heard of that. And what we are doing, if you listen to the earlier part of the program, we were talking about how we create dirty pain stories. And we hold on to those stories for long periods of time, sometimes since childhood. But with thought work, you can look it up on the computer under Byron Katie. BYRONKATIE. She is a tremendous person, and she's developed a program of basically 4 questions with some sub-questions. And she takes people through actually dissolving these thoughts. And it goes back to what we talked about before, getting to the truth. Because when we're dealing with the truth, we really can see things much more clearly.
That sounds a little like psychotherapy. Because isn't it like dealing through your false thoughts, getting to your real thoughts?
Well, maybe that's where psychotherapy and coaching kind of goes hand in hand.
But you're more like in the present and dealing with specific learning new behaviors you can do immediately.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm still a little bit lost.
Okay.
Aren't we all?
Well, there, as coaches, and my line of coaching is we have a lot of tools that people can do that I would teach them, and they're things that you can do at home every day. But if you can just start with that breathing, and when you can talk to yourself about the truth of what's really going on in your thoughts, that's a really good place to start.
Yeah, because, in a little sense, getting back to, just to wrap things up, to get back to you being a little bit nervous about calling here, there's really no need for it. You're allowed to call.
Right.
Kenn's a very welcoming person.
Right.
And you've been on many times, Bill, so you know we don't bite.
Right, I know you don't bite, but it kind of flared up again a little bit. So I said, okay, here's someone who could finally, and yes, it worked. And I know kind of Kenn what to do sort of next time.
Yeah, there you go.
And I understand the difference that psychotherapy is more the past, dealing with trauma, and you, Bonnie, are more like the present. You're fine more or less mentally. You just need to figure out how to deal with the present and where to go.
Right.
Did I get it right?
That's very right. Yes.
I'll quit while I'm ahead. Thank you, Beck.
No problem.
Hey, Bill, just on a personal note, I want to thank you for calling the show all the time, because you always have really good questions to ask that a lot of other people are thinking, but they're too nervous to call and ask. So on behalf of all those people, and as the host of the show, thanks for your calls, because you really do ask some insightful questions.
You're welcome, Kenn. Have a good day, both of you.
Thanks, you too, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
We're chatting with Bonnie Olson, certified Martha Beck life coach, all about stress this morning. We have to take another break, but when we come back, we'll get to maybe some of those stress stoppers and a whole lot more. But we cannot stop the commercials.
What is going on?
Hold on, guys.
Daddy, be careful on the road.
This time around, Brad Pitt's fighting off zombies in the much-lauded World War Z. He plays a former UN investigator thrust into the middle of trying to stop what could be the end of the world. Worldwide destruction sends him around the globe seeking clues about what they're fighting and what it will take to defeat it as he tries to save the lives of billions of strangers as well as his own family. Thanks to George Romero, who set the mold with Night of the Living Dead, filmmakers ever since have been using the undead as handy substitutes for concepts as mall-walking consumers, punk rockers, soccer hooligans, and every political movement imaginable. However, this zombie apocalypse is on a ginormous level never before seen on film. Whether you like zombie movies or not, you should definitely give World War Z a try. For the WSYB DVD review, I'm Chris O'Neill.
Baby. Tell the kids I'm coming back. Just know, I'm coming back.
Hey, it's me, your piggy bank. Remember when you were a little kid? All the dimes and quarters in my back? Yeah, that was good times. Good times. Now lately, I gotta be honest, you've been ignoring me. Money's been slipping through your hands like a greased pig. Get it? Because I'm a... Anyway, I know how it is. Now that you get a real paycheck, it's nice to have stuff. You'll start saving money next year. Well, I hate to tell you, but good saving habits start now. Put just $20 in the bank a month. Make your own coffee at home instead of that latte every morning. Brown bag it to work instead of ordering in. Those changes alone could save you thousands of dollars a year. Come on, I'm your piggy bank. We can be together again, me and you, the special times. Anyway, if you don't want me to cry anymore, feed me. Go to feedthepig.org for more ideas on how to save. Feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
My name is Jennifer Miglis, and here is my story. In early November of 2012, I discovered a small lump in my left breast, and then what followed was a whirlwind of exams, MRI, mammogram, ultrasound, and a biopsy. Within 2 days, I got that phone call. I had breast cancer. I not only was sick and couldn't eat, I was losing my hair, eyebrows, and eyelashes. After my chemo was done, there is a 50-50 chance the cancer could show up somewhere else. Cancer doesn't care about your age, race, religion, or social status. I will continue to fight not only for myself, but for a cure. For everyone who has fought, is fighting, and will fight cancer in the future. I want to say a special thank you to all the doctors and nurses, friends and family who have supported me from the beginning. You have given me strength in my weakest moments, and I love you all very much. My name is Jennifer, and I am one of the many faces of cancer. Most importantly, I am a fighter.
The American Cancer Society's Making Strides Against Breast Cancer of Rutland County. For more details, go to makingstrideswalk.org/RutlandVT.
The phone numbers are 802-773-9792 and toll-free 877-241-5960 for Morning Chat with Ken Hayes on WSYB and WSYB1380am.com.
9:42 on WSYB, 18 before 10 o'clock on a Thursday morning. We're chatting with Bonnie Olson, certified Martha Beck life coach. We're talking all about stress this morning. And I should have mentioned at the top, but better late than never, I'll always wrap up with the information. Let me get the details here. In 2 weeks, Thursday, October 10th, 6 to 7:30 p.m., Bonnie Olson will be giving a seminar all about stress at the Rutland Regional Medical Center, the CVPS Leahy Community Health Center. That's on Allen Street. You guys know where that is, Allen Street in Rutland. You can register 2 ways, online if you're one of those modern folks. RRMC is in Rutland Regional Medical Center, rrmc.org, or if you're an old like me and you like to talk to people and use the telephone, 802-772-2400. I love the people who answer the phone. They are the friendliest at the RRMC. 772-2400. It's coming up 2 weeks from today, Thursday, October 10th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Rutland Regional Medical Center. That's the Community Health Center, the CVPS Leahy Community Health Center. And Bonnie, are you under stress about that? Come and sit on my couch.
I'm new at public speaking. When I was young, I sang in public, but you have a memorized song and that all works out well, and you kind of put yourself in the zone. But having to talk, when I'm working with clients, it's one-on-one, and I'm really comfortable doing that. So this is a stretch for me, and I'm really looking forward to it because, as I said before, this information is so necessary for all of us, and that's the reason why I'm a coach, because I really want to help people reduce their stress.
Maybe the way you should do it, it'll relieve your stress and loosen up the audience after you give your opening remarks, rather than focus on a room full of 500, 1,000 people. I'm just teasing you. I'm making you nervous when it's not that big. Just take somebody out of the audience like we used to do with the Magic Act. Just say, who would like to volunteer, and call one up and just do a one-on-one.
That would be lovely if I had anybody brave enough to do that.
Oh, there's always somebody foolish, brave enough to come forward and do something like that. Yeah. And then you're used to the one-on-one situation, and they're getting free life coaching out of you.
Right.
But the audience, it's like when I said to you, okay, I'll share a story out of my life this morning, and we went through that at the top of the show. But there are zillions of people who say, oh, I can relate to that. It's maybe a different place, a different time, but it's the same kind of situation.
I think that's true. One person's story is everybody's story.
Yeah,
one person's question, like our wonderful caller who called in, is everybody's question.
Yeah.
And it is really helpful when people do participate. And when I'm there in 2 weeks at the hospital talking, I'm going to probably be ending the time together there with a guided meditation. And I think meditation is going to be the wave of the future. I'm new to it. I'm just beginning that journey for myself, but I know that it really helps. And it helps to set an intention for the day, too, first thing in the morning. If you can find a few minutes to meditate. And all that is just clearing your mind. And just there's so many wonderful people who provide those kinds of meditations. Twice I've done the Deepak Chopra and Oprah 21-day meditation that they offer, and they're wonderful. And for a newbie in meditation, it's a nice way to tune in.
What? Say that again. What? A Nubian?
A newbie, a new person.
Oh, newbie. As in, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was some fancy medical term that you had for a new thing I'd never heard of.
No.
So I'm not shy about asking. I certainly
That's
don't.
good.
I don't. There's an awful lot I don't know about Bonnie, so I'll be the first to say. That's why this show is so much fun. Because if nothing else, I learn a lot of stuff I never knew before. And the fun is being able to say to somebody who is an expert in whatever the field is, whatever the topic is for the morning, I'm sorry, I don't get that. Well, what do you mean by that? Or you mean, and then I try to flesh out my own words, and it's humbling but no longer embarrassing to have someone say, no, that isn't what it means at all. But at least I get it corrected and I have the right idea in my head. So.
Right. Well, I think that's a wonderful way to approach the world, and all of us would be a lot calmer if we did that way.
Well, as long as they didn't precede the hour with news that got lost in the middle of them.
Right.
I'm telling you, the poor person who finally fixes that machine and plugs it back in it's going to be spitting out. It's going to be spitting out all these stories that are, a couple of days old. In preparing for this show and doing the research, I was looking at some tips for dealing with stress. I see positive self-talk. I see emergency stress stoppers, finding pleasure, and then the daily relaxation. Those were the 4 big ones, and you just touched on the daily relaxation. Again, on a personal note, I begin the day by praying Divine Office. Is that considered, I'm just curious, daily relaxation?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, that's a form of meditation. Prayer is definitely...
It is considered. I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. So because, you said it's a way of clearing the mind, and it doesn't really clear my mind as much as it really sharpens my mind. It makes me focus on whatever the thing of importance for the day of the week is.
Well, meditation in general, the studies that they are doing prove that without a shadow of a doubt, it does help mental focus. The meditation, this talk actually isn't supposed to be all about meditation, but while we're on the subject,
let's talk about
it also, the more recent studies have been showing that it actually helps people to prevent Alzheimer's disease, which I think is really fascinating.
Wow.
It really fortifies that part of our brain that might slip into Alzheimer's if we're predisposed to it. So lots of good information out there, and I'm so grateful that they're doing all of these studies and really helping to steer us toward what can really help us to drop stress and live the lives we really meant to live. One of the reasons that people develop a lot of stress too is you can think of yourself as split into 2 parts. We are our essential self, and we are our social self. Both are very important. Your essential self is really your personality, your innate self, the part the you that you were born to be, your own preferences, whether you like to eat, taste, smell, all of those things, and the kind of person that you really are. And it doesn't matter where you're born on this planet or by what parents, though that's uniquely you. As soon as you smile at your parents for the first time and they smile back and you notice that it's pleasurable to them and you connect that way, then that starts the beginning of your social self and being a people pleaser. So when we start formulating that social self, if we get too involved in pleasing other people, we start losing that essential self. And us going back to thoughts of childhood, the things that really got us excited, connecting with those things are so helpful to keeping us the happy, sane people we want to be.
So maybe that's why under the finding pleasures category, they say things like, even if it's only 10 or 15 minutes a day, do something you really like. Call it a hobby, call it an avocation, whatever you want to call it. But do what you like, because that certainly will bring you back to the childhood pleasures.
Definitely. Martha Beck would tell you that it's important to connect with wordlessness and oneness each day. And what that really is, you get there by meditation, but you also get there being out in nature if you're somebody who gets rejuvenated in nature. It might even be wordlessness in that our busy minds always are creating words. We have that constant dialogue in our head.
Yeah, we do.
That can create tremendous stress. And if we can quiet that down and get to a place of just pure bliss, being out with your dog, just feeling nature, getting in contact with your five senses in any given moment. What is this taste, feel, smell, all of those senses. When you can pull all of that into your awareness and get into the present moment, that's really what frees our minds.
Which is why I guess I more than ever, since I started working here, need the hike that I take every morning. As soon as I get off the air and I hop in the car and go home, I do my 4 miles because it does. It gets rid of the stress that built up. I don't mean today as an example, that, the printer thing and losing the story, that's 1 in a million. But just the normal everyday ins and outs of dealing with whatever it happens to be, just the commute to and from work, whatever you have to do on the job in that particular day.
Well, it's awareness. It's self-awareness, and that's something that most of us don't even remember to do. We're not really good at taking care of ourselves. You doing that is a chunk of time where you take care of yourself, which no one else can do but you.
Right.
And it creates the ability for you to present to the world the Kenn that you really want to present to the world. Notice how you feel before you begin that walk, and then notice how you feel at the end of that walk.
Sweaty.
I was sweaty. How do you feel mentally?
Actually, cleared enough that I can then go back to the home office and take care of the business, which is thanking the guest for the day and then prepping for the next day's guest and then doing the bookings for the subsequent days and weeks, and then going back and doing the research to make sure that I've covered all the things I need to, so that I don't come off as a complete goofball when I have to interview somebody the next day. But I couldn't do that if I left here and went straight home, to the home office. It would be like jumping from job A to job B with no mental break in between.
And most of us do exactly that, and we wonder why we're so agitated.
Wow. You're a delight to talk to, I must say. I feel calmer already just talking to you, and I haven't even had a chance yet to lie down on that beautiful couch we have here in the studio and tell you all about how I was born at a very young age in a log cabin when we had to walk uphill 5 miles through the snow every day, even in the summer, to get to school.
Both ways.
Both ways, yes, that's right. You knew that. You've heard this story before.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting a little tight on time, but we do have a couple of minutes left. I wanted to give the last few minutes over to you entirely to make sure that we covered everything you wanted to so that you feel free to cover anything that I haven't asked you about, or if I have but we haven't delved into it deeply enough. Bonnie Olson, feel free.
Well, I think this has been a really fun experience for me. I really appreciate how nice and relaxed you are in this conversation. It helps me with my stress. You're not stressful now, though, are you? No.
Oh, good.
No. But I think I just want to have everybody leave with a thought today that it's really thinking about what we're feeling at any given time, that awareness within ourselves. We just go on, like you mentioned, from one thing to another without really taking that pause for ourselves. It's our duty and our right to take care of ourselves every day, and that's really my message. So take that time out for yourself every day. It's like putting the oxygen mask on the adult first. In an airplane, the child's going to be fine. You take care of yourself. The child's going to be so much happier when you are taking care of yourself. So,
amen. And it's something, we would help. If you had a problem, without it thinking, I'd rush into that next room and do what needed to be done to take care of you. But if I needed it, would I necessarily think to do it for myself? And the answer 9 times out of 10 is no. Just the average Joe wouldn't think of doing it for himself.
Right. And when we are burning the candle at both ends and strung out, we're really not the person that we want to be. And we're not really managing our lives and taking care of those people that rely on us as well as we could be if we were taking care of ourselves.
This is great stuff. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. And I look forward to having some of the listeners show up on October 10th at the hospital.
Yeah, I'm going to give all that information again when we wrap it up after we unchain you from the chair and let you scoot out of here. Bonnie Olson, certified Martha Beck life coach, all about stress this morning on WSYB. 9:55, one last break, and we will wrap it up in just a couple of minutes.
There's no place like home to recover from an illness, injury, or surgery. Home care is personalized care, tailored to your specific needs. And unlike most forms of health care, home care reduces stress and worry when you're caring for yourself or a loved one alone. Ask your doctor about home health care or call us. We're Rutland Area VNA and Hospice, our area's most trusted, most experienced home care agency at 775-0568.
I will never forget the day my son Jeremy told me he hated me and slammed the door in my face. I'm behavioral therapist Janet Lehman. Behavior problems can turn the child you love and your life into a nightmare. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the step-by-step program that shows you how to fix the worst behavior problems and get your child to respect and listen to you again. No matter what the behavior, defiance, backtalk, angry outbursts, disrespect, we can help you stop it. Now you can get the Total Transformation for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. You can keep it forever for free.
Limited number of free programs available. Call now. 1-800-642-8896. 1-800-642-8896. That's 1-800-642-8896. 1-800-642-8896.
Take care, Grandma.
Okay, baby. Don't forget to let me know the second you get there.
Yes, ma'am.
My grandson always tells me I worry about him too much. And of course I do. I'm his grandma. Well, I was worried sick when he came home from Afghanistan. He came back wounded. It wasn't a wound you could see. It was a wound inside. Post-traumatic stress disorder. My T couldn't sleep. He was angry all the time. He felt like he didn't fit in anywhere. Then I heard about this group, Wounded Warrior Project, people helping warriors like T. So I figured who better to help my grandson than people who could understand what he'd been through. Now, I don't know what they do there, but my T is smiling again. So I figured they must be good people.
1 out of every 5 warriors return from the battlefield with post-traumatic stress disorder. Help support them at woundedwarriorproject.org.
The Government Accountability Institute has conducted an analysis of how much time this president has spent in economic meetings of any kind. For instance, how much time has he spent golfing compared to economic meetings?
Between golf and vacation, he's at 976 hours.
That's only more than double the time of what he spent on the economy.
But he won't rest
until people have jobs and this economy is rolling again.
The Glenn Beck Program, Saturday mornings from 6 to 9 on WSYB and WSYB1380am.com.
And don't forget, you can see and hear and have fun with Bonnie Olson and get your stress under control in 2 weeks' time. That would be Thursday, October 10th. I can't believe October's right around the corner. Man. 2 weeks, Thursday, October 10th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. That'll be at the Medical Center, Rutland Regional Medical Center in the Community Health Center. That's on Allen Street in Rutland, 160, I believe, Allen Street in Rutland. You can register either online at RRMC, as in Rutland Regional Medical Center.org, or you can pick up the phone and call. Very nice folks, 802-772-2400 at the CVPS Leahy Community Health Center there at Rutland Regional Medical Center. 2 weeks from tonight, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Bonnie Olson, certified Martha Beck life coach, help you get stress under control in your life. And we thank her again for coming in this morning. That'll do it for now. 10 o'clock news coming up right around the corner, and then Sir Philbin will round out the morning here on WSYB. Have yourself a good day, my friend, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning, God willing, and the creek don't rise.
WSYB Rutland at WSYB1380am.com.